back to Rocky's recap, week 13 in the NFL. So let's start from the top. Thursday night football. The heartbreaker for me, it still hurts. Saints versus Cowboys, 13-10 final score. So that says a lot about what happened in this game. Tons of defense, particularly for Dallas. Dallas's defense was absolutely fantastic, particularly in coverage, surprisingly, where they were consistently challenging the Saints receivers and making catches very difficult. And the throws that were completed underneath, they were very quick to the ball and made tackles to limit yardage. Cowboys win 4 straight for the first time since 2016. Dak Prescott finished the day with 24 of 28, 248 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions, and 22 rushing yards. He did have 2 fumbles, and he did lose one of those. Dak Prescott has already been sacked a career-high 46 times this season, the most in the NFL. Ezekiel Elliott finished with 23 carries, 76 yards, and 6 receptions, 60 yards, and a receiving touchdown. Gallup finished with 5 receptions, 76 yards. Amari Cooper, 8 receptions, 75 yards, and he lost a fumble. Defensively, like I mentioned, absolutely fantastic. Randy Gregory, forced fumble. Xavier Woods with the forced fumble. Lewis with an interception. Jalen Smith and Vander Esch absolutely everywhere, smothering. They led in tackles. They were all over the field, making stops and big plays. Lawrence had what would have been 2 strip sacks as well. All the credit to this Dallas defense for peaking at a prime time in the season as they race for the playoff picture and take off what was the #1 team. So kudos to them. I can't deny that their defense most definitely stepped up and rattled us. Drew Brees was kept out of rhythm throughout the night by the Dallas defense, uncharacteristically putting the ball in harm's way on multiple occasions and ultimately in his worst performance of the season due to this. Brees finished 18 of 28, 127 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, and a fumble. Drew Brees' 39 passing yards are his fewest in the first half since 2004 against the Broncos, where he had 46 yards. Brees was a member of the San Diego Chargers back then. So this is like one of his ultimate worst performances, especially as a Saint. He had there were 65 total rushing yards. So nobody was really doing anything on the ground. As I mentioned, Vander Esch and Jalen Smith and the D front 7 are absolutely suffocating. Michael Thomas finished with 5 receptions, 40 yards. Kamara with 11 carries for 36 yards on the ground and 8 receptions for 36 yards and a fumble. No wide receiver was over 40 yards. Dan Arnold had a fumble as well. Just really sloppy offensive play, ball security, and just not able to get in any kind of a rhythm. Defensively, Cam Jordan did have a forced fumble. Onyemata had a forced fumble. Marshawn Lattimore had a forced fumble and a fumble recovery. Lattimore led with 10 tackles. Davis with 11 tackles. Onyemata with 7 tackles, 3 sacks. Cam Jordan with 7 tackles, 2 sacks. 7 sacks total. So we were definitely sacking. That's about it. Our front 7 did their job. Marshawn Lattimore did pretty good. Other than that, I mean, our defenses on both sides, honestly, were pretty solid considering we held them as well to 13. So big defensive performances on both sides of the ball. Offense for us just couldn't step up, and that's uncharacteristic of us. So that's what happens. Entering this game, the Saints had 14 possessions end and 3 and out, the second fewest in the NFL. The Cowboys have forced 3 and out on each of the Saints' first 2 possessions. So that just kind of shows a picture of how all that went. As far as, by the way, defense, our defense did solid up front mostly. And like I said, I mentioned Marshawn Lattimore, but let's talk about Apple for a second. He had one of, if not, the worst performances of his career. In the first quarter alone, he gave up a 40-yard deep pass to Gallup on top of 3 penalties in coverage and missed tackles. Absolutely a sad performance from him. Definitely did not like what I saw. I hope that was just a fluke game for him because I'm going to need him to step back up. But moving forward, next game, Ravens versus Falcons. There was not much of a variety on offense, but their ability to impose their will in the run game powered the Ravens to their victory. Lamar Jackson finished 12 of 21, 125 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. He rushed for 75 yards, and he had a rushing touchdown. He did fumble 3 times and lost it once. Lamar Jackson has the most rushing yards by a quarterback in his first 3 NFL starts since 1970 merger. Robert Griffin III even got in. He was 2 of 4 for 21 yards. Gus Edwards on the ground, 21 carries, 82 yards. Kenneth Dixon, 8 carries, 37 yards, and he also fumbled. The Ravens amassed 207 rushing yards in this win, their 3rd game with 200-plus rushing yards this season, most in the NFL. Mark Andrews finished with 3 of 47 yards in receiving. Defensively, for the Ravens, Onwuasor with a forced fumble, Kenny Young with a forced fumble, 1 recovered for a touchdown. Eric Weddle, great in coverage. Brandon Williams giving linemen hell. Baltimore held the Falcons to 131 total yards. Atlanta's worst showing since a 105-yard effort against San Francisco in 1999. Matt Ryan finished with 131 yards, the fewest since 2011. He finished with 16 of 26, 131 yards, 1 touchdown, no interception, and he also lost a fumble. A lot of fumbles. That's the theme of Week 13. Tons of fumbles. Only 34 rushing yards on the ground. No wide receiver was over 45 yards, and that was Hooper right below that with 5 receptions, 44 yards, and a touchdown. This is the 11th consecutive game the Falcons have had at least 6 different receivers with a reception. It was the fewest passing yards in a game he played from start to finish in his 11-year career. So another offense that was not clicking that usually is and has good targets. Defensively speaking for Atlanta, though, Grady Jarrett with 7 tackles, giving linemen hell, 2 forced fumbles. Oluokun, 10 tackles, 1 forced fumble. Deion Jones back from injury. LSU with 15 tackles and a sack. That's what I'm talking about, baby. Can't hold us down. Vic Beasley traveled 112.5 yards on his fumble recovery touchdown, the longest distance covered by a ball carrier on a fumble recovery for a touchdown this season. Since 2011, Matt Ryan is 1-13 versus top 3 scoring defenses, week 4 or later. The Ravens are the top-ranked scoring defense in the NFL with 18 points per game allowed. Next game, Broncos versus Bengals. Casey Keenum finished 12 of 21, 151 yards and a touchdown, no interceptions. Phillip Lindsay, another amazing performance for this undrafted rookie. 19 carries, 157 yards, 2 touchdowns, career high for him. 4th undrafted rookie since 1970 with 1,000+ scrimmage yards in a single season. Great performance. Super proud of him. Freeman on the ground as well, 12 carries, 48 yards. He did lose a fumble. Cortland Sutton, the other rookie, in the air, 4 receptions, 85 yards and a touchdown. Defensively for the Broncos, 2 fumble recoveries, a forced fumble for Chubb. Davis with 10 tackles, 3 tackles for loss. Simmons, 9 tackles and an interception. Miller and Shelby Harris with 2 sacks each. Bradley Chubb is making a push for the rookie sack record with 10 through his first 12 games. That ties 5th most since 1982 with individual sacks before individual sacks were recorded. Von Miller is one of 3 players this season with 10+ sacks and 4+ forced fumbles. The other 2 is J.J. Watt and T.J. Watt. So in good company. As far as the Bengals are concerned, Jeff Driscoll 25 of 37, 236 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. He lost a fumble, and so did Erickson. Joe Mixon on the ground, 12 carries, 82 yards. Tyler Boyd, 6 receptions, 97 yards. Defensively for the Bengals, Nickerson with the forced fumble, Vigil with the fumble recovery, Williams with 9 tackles and a tackle for a loss. Honestly, Cincinnati was penalized 8 times in the first half. It's most in an opening half since 2009. The Bengals finished with 12 penalties for 100 yards. Unacceptable. The Bengals have allowed 24+ points in 7 consecutive games, the longest active streak in the NFL right now. Definitely trouble in paradise for sure. Broncos on to the next. Next game, Rams versus Lions. Rams clinched the NFC West with this game. Goff finished 17 of 33, 207 yards, a touchdown, 1 interception. He did lose a fumble. It was definitely not his best day, and he was definitely off target. But it doesn't really matter because they have a great defense, and they have Gurley at running back. 23 carries, 132 yards on the day, 2 touchdowns, 3 receptions for 33 yards, 165 total yards on the day. His 15 touchdowns on the season is a franchise record. Robert Woods had 78 scrimmage yards and a receiving touchdown. Cook had 4 receptions for 62 yards. Cooks is the first player in NFL history with 1,000 yards receiving in 3 straight years for 3 different teams. And that is now the Rams, that it was the Patriots, and it was the Saints. Sad we let him go. Anyways, defensively speaking for the Rams, Aaron Donald with 6 tackles, 2 sacks, a forced fumble, 4 tackles for a loss. Buckham with the fumble recovery, Hill with an end zone interception, Johnson with 12 tackles, Fowler with 5 tackles, a sack, and 3 tackles for a loss. Talib back, and it will definitely be good going forward for them. Stafford, on the other hand, finished 20 of 33, 245 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, and a lost fumble. Matthew Stafford has more interceptions, 5, than touchdown passes, 4, in his last 5 games. Blunt on the ground, 16 carries, 61 yards. Teololo, I'm not even sure who that is. Receiver with 4 receptions, 90 yards. And Galladay with 3 receptions, 50 yards. Defensively speaking, Damon Harrison with 7 tackles, a strip sack, and fumble recovery. Diggs with 6 tackles and an interception. Rams just rolling right through them. They play tonight, tomorrow night. They play Monday Night Football against the Bears, and I'm praying that the Bears beat them because I need my Saints to still be number 1 in the NFC. Next game, Cardinals versus Packers. This was the Cardinals' first win in Green Bay since 1949, when the franchise was in Chicago, actually. The Packers' woes on offense continued, managing just 17 points and failing to outscore a Cardinals team who entered this week as the lowest scoring team in the NFL. So very sad performance for the Packers. Rosen was 11 of 26, 149 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions, 32 rushing yards, and a fumble. David Johnson on the ground, 20 carries, 69 yards. Chase Edmonds, 5 receptions, 53 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Christian Kirk, 3 receptions, 54 yards, 23 yards rushing. Larry Fitzgerald, 3 receptions, 48 yards. Larry Fitzgerald in this game tied Jerry Rice for the most receptions with a single franchise in NFL history. Defensively speaking, for the Cardinals, Hodges had 13 tackles, Bethea with 10 tackles, Jones with 4 tackles and a sack, 3 quarterback hits. Chandler Jones now has 40 sacks in 44 career games with Arizona, reaching 40-plus sacks in fewer games than any other player in franchise history. The Cardinals have an NFL high 11 players with multiple sacks this season. So their defense kind of can do some things. If only that offense can get clicking. It's a sad story on offense with Rosen and the offensive line. Until that gets shaped up, they won't be doing much. As far as Green Bay goes, Rodgers finished 31 of 50, 233 yards, a touchdown, no interception, 20 rushing yards, and he definitely struggled to move the ball down the field. He was off on his targets. There was plenty of miscommunications. Aaron Rodgers has now thrown 336 straight passes without an interception, which is the longest active streak in the NFL and second longest all time. No rushing game at all. Jones led with 36 yards on the ground. Devontae Adams with 8 receptions, 93 yards, and a touchdown. Jimmy Graham with 8 receptions and 50 yards. Devontae Adams now has more touchdown receptions since 2016 than anyone, breaking his tie with the Steelers wide receiver Antonio Brown, who has been targeted over 80 times more than Adams in that same span. Defensively speaking, for the Packers, Campbell with 8 tackles and a forced fumble and a tackle for a loss. Martinez with 10 tackles. Clark with 7 tackles. Lots of pressures and plays at the line of scrimmage for him. Crosby with a missed 49-yard field goal at the end of the game, which would have been to tie the game. So huge deal there. That's not the first time he's let them down this season. First time the Packers have lost 7+ games in a season in consecutive seasons since 99-2000. After this game, Mike McCarthy was fired as a result. That's how ugly it was. For the Cardinals of all teams, no offense, to come in into Lambeau Field and beat y'all like this is not acceptable. Next game, Texans versus Browns. 9-game winning streak, the longest in franchise history for the Texans. Deshaun Watson finished 22 of 31, 224 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions, 30 yards rushing. Deshaun Watson's 43 offensive touchdowns, passing and rushing, are the second most by any player in his first 18 career games since 1970. Lamar Miller on the ground, another great performance, 19 carries, 103 yards. Blue assisting on the ground as well with 13 carries, 54 yards. The Texans have 150-plus rushing yards in consecutive games for the first time since 2012. DeAndre Hopkins finished 7 receptions, 91 yards. Defensively speaking, Justin Reed, the rookie, with 4 tackles, big hits, 2 pass deflections, 1 forced fumble in the end zone. Colvin on that recovery. And Colvin also had 6 tackles. Jonathan Joseph, Andre Hall, Zach Cunningham all had an interception. Zach Cunningham had that pick 6 for 38 yards. Matthew with 6 tackles and a pass deflection. Their defense is amazing. Definitely a team I say every week to watch out for. As far as the Browns are concerned, Mayfield had probably one of the worst performances of his career yet. 29 of 43, 397 yards, a touchdown, and 3 interceptions. Sloppy first half, better second half, but it was just too late. Too many interceptions and ball security issues on offense, period. There was no run game at all. Nick Chubb only had 31 rushing yards and 41 receiving yards. The Browns have not allowed a sack in 3 straight games, their longest streak without allowing a sack since 1988. Jarvis Landry had a good game regardless, 6 receptions, 103 yards. Callaway with 3 receptions, 84 yards. He did lose a fumble as well. Higgins with 4 receptions, 62 yards, and a touchdown. Defensively, Buddy Calhoun with the forced fumble, Carey, Peppers, and Randall with 8 tackles. Honestly, I thought this was pretty interesting. The fun fact, Texans traded up in 2016 draft to get Watson, and the Browns ended up getting Jabril Peppers and Denzel Ward with those picks that they traded. So it'd be a good question to debate what's the better trade now looking back, 2020 hindsight, to have Deshaun Watson as your franchise quarterback, or to have Jabril Peppers and Denzel Ward, which Denzel Ward's doing his thing, Jabril Peppers, maybe not so much. I don't know. Either way, I know the Texans are in a better position right now, and Deshaun Watson has a lot to do with that. So anyways, next game, Jaguars versus Colts. 6 combined points total in the game, ties for the fewest in a game since 2007. Kessler finished with 18 of 24, 150 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions, 28 rushing yards, and a fumble. There was absolutely no run game. Hyde had 36 yards, and he lost a fumble. Yeldon led in receiving, however, with 7 receptions, 49 yards. Just no offense, period, obviously, in this kind of a game when it's 6-0. Defensively, Telvin Smith with 12 tackles and a forced fumble. Miles Jack with 10 tackles and a fumble recovery. DJ Hayden with an interception and 3 sacks and 9 quarterback hits as a team. The D-line was very strong, and Ramsey was actually great in coverage. As far as the Colts are concerned, Luck finished 33 of 52, 248 yards, no touchdowns, 1 interception, 16 rushing yards. Again, no run game whatsoever. Mack finished with 27 yards on the game. So both run defenses were very solid. Eric Ebron finished with 10 receptions, 81 yards. He lost a fumble as well. T.Y. Hilton finished with 8 receptions, 77 yards, and Hines with 9 receptions, 50 yards. Defensively speaking for the Colts, Autry had 7 tackles, 3 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and Walker had 10 tackles in the fumble recovery. Darius Leonard with 9 tackles. The D-line and run defense, like I mentioned, was very strong for both teams. The Colts are the only team to force a takeaway in each game this season. So kudos to them, but it didn't help them out in this game. Next game, Dolphins versus Bills. Miami won despite being outgained 415 yards to 175 yards. Tannehill finished 16 of 24, 137 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. His 3 touchdowns ties his career record, by the way. There was absolutely no run game. Drake did have a receiving touchdown. He has 4 receiving touchdowns this season, the most by a running back since 1999. Parker finished with 4 receptions, 43 yards, and a touchdown. Stills with 4 receptions, 37 yards, and a touchdown. He also fumbled. So offensively, just not so much going on. Defensively, however, Quinn with the strip sack, forced fumble, Perry with the recovery, Xavier Howard again with 2 interceptions. Xavier Howard, I swear, has had a 2 interception game, I think, at least 3 times this season. I want to say, don't quote me. I know for sure he's had 2 games with 2 picks. I want to say in the beginning of the year there was another, so I think it's 3 games total with 2 picks a game. That's crazy. Kiki Alonso with 11 tackles, McMillan with 8 tackles and 2 tackles for a loss. As far as the Bills are concerned, Josh Allen finished 18 of 33, 231 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and 9 carries for 135 rushing yards, the most by a Bills in quarterback in franchise history. Josh Allen is the first rookie quarterback with consecutive games of 90-plus rushing yards since 1970. McCoy on the ground, 15 carries, 52 yards. Zay Jones, 4 receptions, 67 yards, and 2 receiving touchdowns. 3 fumbles offensively, so not taking care of the ball is a huge deal. Plus Josh Allen with 2 interceptions. That's 5 takeaways, or giveaways, I should say. Defensively speaking for the Bills, Micah Hyde with the interception, Milano with 8 tackles, 2 for a loss, 3 sacks, and 9 quarterback hits as a team. Just couldn't get the job done. Miami ended up pulling off the win. Next game, Giants versus Bears. What a thriller. Finished in overtime, all kinds of things going on here. So Manning finished 19 of 35, 170 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, And Odell Beckham Jr., LSU, with another passing touchdown for 49 yards to Russell Shepard. Oh, by the way, LSU. How awesome. Odell Beckham Jr.'s 49-yard touchdown pass to Russell Shepard in the third quarter traveled 48.9 yards of air and distance, the longest on a Giants passing touchdown this season. So touchdown passes of 40-plus yards this season, Odell Beckham Jr., 2, Eli Manning, 0. Quarterback change? Russell Shepard finished the day with 2 receptions, 59 yards, and a touchdown. LSU to LSU. I thought that was pretty ironic in our trick play to Odell Beckham Jr. to Russell Shepard. The ironic part about that is Russell Shepard, who received that touchdown, actually used to be a quarterback in high school, so that's kind of funny. On the ground, Saquon Barkley finished with 24 carries, 125 yards, 100-plus scrimmage yards in 11 games this season. Ties for the third most games in a player's rookie season since 1950. Defensively, Webb and Vernon with a forced fumble each, Chandler on recovery of one of them, Ogletree with 10 tackles and 2 interceptions. One was a pick six. That's his second pick six of the season. Webb with 9 tackles, Vernon with 5 tackles, 2 sacks, 1 strip sack, 3 quarterback hits, BJ Hill with 3 sacks. Jenkins broke up more passes than he allowed to be completed in his coverage, including the final play of the game to clinch the win. So shout out to him on that. As far as the Bears are concerned, Chase Daniels in for a hurt Trubisky still. 26 of 39, 285 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, 4 fumbles. Tariq Cohen also had a touchdown pass at quarterback. Jordan Howard on the ground, 16 carries, 76 yards. Tariq Cohen finished with 12 receptions, 156 yards receiving. Allen Robinson with 5 receptions, 79 yards. Tariq Cohen and Hall of Fame Jerry Rice are the only 2 players since 1950 to record 12-plus receptions, 150-plus receiving yards, and 1-plus passing touchdown in a single game. Way too many offensive turnovers for this team, 6 fumbles and 2 interceptions. You can't expect to win. This was not characteristic of a Chicago team that I'm used to watching. Defensively speaking, Fuller with an interception, Trevathan and Roquan Smith led the team with 10 tackles each. Bears DN Akeem Hicks scored on a 1-yard carry in the second quarter, which I thought was fun and interesting. He is the first Bears defensive player to score a rushing touchdown since William Perry in Super Bowl 20. Akeem Hicks contributed a full stat sheet against the Giants, a rushing touchdown, a bevy of stops in the run game, a 5th sack of the season, and his first batted pass of the season. So great performance by him. Other than that, the defense didn't do as much as what I'm used to seeing. We didn't hear from Eddie Jackson. I don't even know if he played, honestly, now that I'm thinking about it, because it's unlike him to not have any sort of contribution. But anyways, unacceptable. I really hope the Bears can bounce back, because they're my last hope to beat the Rams on Monday night, so my Saints can still be number 1 in the NFC. Let's do it. But kudos to the Giants for pulling that off. Very great feat. Definitely an optimistic outlook for them to know that they can, especially, they did all kind of trick plays and they got creative and, they were still able to pull it off. So kudos to them. Next game, Bucks versus Panthers. Winston finished 20 of 30, 249 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, and 48 rushing yards. There was absolutely no run game. Peyton Barber with 45 rushing yards and a rushing touchdown. He lost a fumble as well. Chris Godwin with 5 receptions, 101 yards, and a touchdown. Adam Humphries with 7 receptions, 61 yards, and a touchdown. Mike Evans with 4 receptions, 48 yards. Defensively speaking, Andrew Adams had 3 interceptions. Xavier Elliott with 5 tackles and an interception. Levante David with 12 tackles and a sack. 4 sacks and 10 quarterback hits as a team. Mentor and Pierre-Paul with a sack. The Bucks only have 1 giveaway in the past 2 games. They had 2+ giveaways in each of their previous 9 games. Andrew Adams has 3 interceptions today for Tampa Bay, tying his team's total interceptions through the first 12 weeks of the season. Adams is the first Buccaneer player to accomplish this feat since Aqib Talib in 2009. So Andrew Adams got 3 interceptions that day, which was more than they did in 12 weeks of play. That's crazy. Anyways, for the Panthers, Cam Newton finished 28 of 41, 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, and 33 rushing yards. Horrible performance by him, and he owned it. Christian McCaffrey on the ground, 10 carries, 106 yards, and 9 receptions, 55 yards, and a receiving touchdown, 161 total yards on the day. 100-plus scrimmage yards for the 5th straight game, tied for the longest active streak in the NFL for him. Curtis Samuel finished with 6 receptions, 88 yards. Defensively speaking, nothing really to talk about. Luke Kuechly with 5 tackles and a fumble recovery, 4 sacks as a team. Run defense was pretty solid, I guess you could say. Fun fact, Cam Newton and Jameis Winston are 2 of the 3 active players to win the Heisman Trophy and be the #1 overall pick. The other one is Baker Mayfield. Next game, Chiefs vs. Raiders. Mahomes' 7th game with 4-plus passing touchdowns, second most for an entire season since 1950. 23 of 38, 295 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, 52 rushing yards. Patrick Mahomes has the most passing yards, 3,912, and passing touchdowns, 37, and passing completions, 286, in a player's first 12 games since 1950. Spencer Ware, LSU, in for Hunt as he carried 14 carries, 47 yards, and a touchdown. Damian Williams, 5 carries, 38 yards on the ground. Tyreek Hill was limited to 37 rushing yards and only 13 receiving yards. So whoever was guarding him definitely owned up to their assignment. Travis Kelce, however, not so much. 12 receptions, 168 yards, 2 touchdowns. He did lose a fumble, but who cares? Travis Kelce now has 1,000-plus receiving yards for the 3rd straight season. Greg Olsen is the only other tight end in NFL history to accomplish this feat with 3 straight 1,000-yard seasons. Defensively speaking, 4 forced fumbles by Bailey, Ford, Williams, and Fuller. 3 recovered by Houston, Sorensen, and O'Daniel. Scandrick with 9 tackles, 1 pass deflection. Hitchens with 9 tackles. Ford with 5 tackles, 2 sacks, 1 strip sack, forced fumble. Chris Jones, 5 tackles, 2 sacks. Fuller, 8 tackles. Chiefs have 5 games with 40-plus points this season, tied for the most in a single season in Chiefs history since 2003. Anyways, Chiefs are on fire, definitely looking like they're unstoppable because even without Hunt and even without Hill being really a contributing factor, they still produce, and their defense is stepping up in a major way lately. As far as the Raiders are concerned, Carr actually had a pretty decent game, 29 of 38, 285 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. And since winning 12 games in 2016, he's gone 8-19 the last 2 seasons. Pretty bad. Jalen Richard on the ground, 6 carries, 95 yards. Doug Martin, 18 carries, 61 yards, and a touchdown. All 3 running backs on their team lost a fumble this game. So ball security issues. Again, what did I say the theme of Week 13 was? Fumbles. Buku everywhere. Jared Cook, another game with 7 receptions, 100 yards, and a touchdown. Jordy Nelson with 10 receptions, 97 yards. Defensively speaking, Whitehead with 7 tackles and a forced fumble. Nelson on the recovery. No sacks on this game at all for the Raiders defense. Barely any pressures. They allowed 469 yards and 40 points. Very ugly. Next game, Titans versus Jets. Mariota with 20 of 35, 282 yards, and 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, 43 rushing yards, 2 fumbles. Ugly start, but he turned it around. Mariota has 2+ passing touchdowns in 4 of his last 5 games. There was no run game at all. Derrick Henry with 10 carries for 40 yards and a touchdown. Tawan Taylor out of nowhere showed up, 3 receptions, 104 yards. Tajay Sharp, 3 receptions, 51 yards. Firsker, 3 receptions, 42 yards and a touchdown. Corey Davis with 3 receptions, 42 yards and a touchdown as well. Defensively speaking, Malcolm Butler with an interception. Evans led with 8 tackles. Adoree Jackson with 7 tackles. McCown for the Jets, 17 of 30, 128 yards, no touchdowns, 1 interception. The O-line was absolutely horrible. Crowell on the ground, though, was able to manage and get some yards. 21 carries, 98 yards. Robbie Anderson, 4 receptions, 48 yards. No receiver was over 50 yards. Defensively speaking, Jamal Adams, LSU, had an amazing game with 11 tackles and a strip sack, forced fumble. Tremaine Johnson with a pick 6 for 31 yards. Avery Williamson with 9 tackles. Darron Lee with 7 tackles. Their defense usually has some sort of contributions, but it can't, you can't do anything when your offense can't put points on the board or can't take care of the ball. The Jets have their first takeaway in their last 6 games. Their 5-game streak without a takeaway was tied for the longest such drought since 1950. The Jets were flagged 11 times for 96 yards, including 3 times on the Titans' final drive with one offsetting. The Titans, who came in the NFL as the least penalized team, had 8 for 75 yards. So a very penalized, flag-hungry game, that's for sure, on both sides of the ball. Next game, Patriots versus Vikings. Tom Brady finished 24 of 32, 311 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, no sacks on him. Tom Brady is 14-0 in his last 5 seasons in games when he is not sacked. Interesting. Sony Michel on the ground, 17 carries, 63 yards. James White, 7 receptions, 92 yards, 26 rushing yards. And the fullback came in, Devlin, with 2 touchdowns. Josh Gordon with 3 receptions, 58 yards, and a touchdown. Defensively, Harmon and Jones with an interception each. The McCourty brothers with 7 tackles each. Great in secondary coverage for the Patriots. The Patriots are 65-13 in the month of December in the Belichick era since 2000. That's the most wins and best winning percentage by any team in any month over that span since that time. The Patriots are the only team in the NFL to have beaten 3 teams with 8+ wins this season, and that's Houston, Kansas City, and Chicago. So looking pretty good as the season's starting to come to an end. Watch out. As far as the Vikings are concerned, Cousins, 32 of 44, 201 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. He is 0-5-1 in games when he has 41+ attempts this season. He's 6-0 on 40 or fewer pass attempts. So, I mean, don't go over 40. Hello. Dalvin Cook on the ground, 9 carries, 84 yards. No wide receiver was over 50 yards. Diggs with 5 receptions, 49 yards. Thielen only had 28 yards. So, like I said, really good coverage in the secondary by the Patriots. They stopped the duo tandem of Diggs and Thielen. Defensively speaking, Kendricks with 16 tackles and an interception. Outside of that, there was no sacks, no pressures, no nothing going on for the Vikings defense. The Patriots are one of 2 teams that the Vikings have not beaten since 2001. So definitely a team that they have been having issues with historically. Next game, Seahawks versus 49ers. Russell Wilson had a great game, 4 passing touchdowns, season high, 11 of 17, 185 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, and 14 rushing yards. Russell Wilson now has thrown 63 touchdown passes since last season, most in the NFL. Carson on the ground, 13 carries, 69 yards, 3 receptions for 39 yards. Penny with 7 carries, 65 yards, and a touchdown. Jerron Brown with 3 receptions, 67 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Lockett with 1 reception for 52 yards and a touchdown. Defensively speaking for the Seahawks, Bobby Wagner, 12 tackles, forced fumble and a fumble recovery near the end zone, and a pick 6, 98 yards to get the touchdown. Absolutely amazing performance by him. Coleman and Calitro with 10 tackles each, McDougal with 9 tackles. Bobby Wagner reached 20 miles per hour on his 98-yard interception touchdown return, the fastest speed reached by a linebacker with the ball this season, the first of his career and the longest in franchise history. Congratulations, Bobby Wagner. You were definitely one of the best of them at the linebacker position. Mullins finished the game 30 of 48, 414 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 costly pick 6. The O-line was horrible. Jeffrey Wilson on the ground, 15 carries, 61 yards, 8 receptions, 73 yards, 134 total yards on the day. He did also lose a fumble. Dante Pettis showing up, the rookie, 5 receptions, 129 yards, 2 touchdowns. Kittle with 6 receptions, 70 yards. Bourne with 4 receptions, 60 yards. And Brieda, 3 receptions for 51 yards. Horrible defensive performance, but Buckner did have 2 sacks. Next game, Chargers versus Steelers. Chargers win with a game-winning field goal after trailing 16 points at half. So very impressive performance by them. Rivers finished 26 of 36, 299 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, has thrown 2+ passing touchdowns in 13 straight games, tied for the second longest streak in the Super Bowl era. Jackson with Jackson on the ground, 8 carries, 63 yards and a touchdown, and 19 receiving yards. Keenan Allen with 14 receptions, 148 yards and a touchdown. Mike Williams with 3 receptions, 52 yards. Benjamin with 2 receptions, 44 yards and a touchdown. Defensively speaking for the Chargers, Derwin James with an interception return, 23 yards. Great in coverage. Jatavis Brown with 11 tackles. Desmond King, 10 tackles, 2 pass defended, 73-yard punt return for a touchdown. Great performance by Desmond King. Bosa back with 6 tackles and a sack. The Chargers incurred 3 penalties, resulting in first downs in the first half. That equals their most in any half since last season. So, like I said, they were trailing 16.5, but they came back and got the job done. As far as the Steelers are concerned, Big Ben, 29 of 45, 281 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. James Conner with 15 carries, 60 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 14 receiving yards. Conner and Gurley are the only running backs in the NFL with multiple rushing touchdowns in 5 games this season. Antonio Brown finished with 10 receptions, 154 yards, and a touchdown. Juju with 6 receptions, 49 yards. Defensively speaking, no takeaways. Fort led the team with tackles with 12 tackles. Davis with 9. There was 2 sacks, 9 quarterback hits as a team. The Steelers lost for the first time since 1940 when leading 16-plus points at half at home. Crazy. Rivers and Roethlisberger have played exclusively for the Chargers and the Steelers, respective teams, for each of their 15 seasons in the NFL. So I thought that was a pretty fun fact. They were both drafted the same year in 2004. Rivers was the number 4 overall pick, and Big Ben was the number 11 overall pick. I thought that was pretty interesting. Okay, next game. Eagles versus Redskins, Monday Night Football. Carson Wentz finished 27 of 39, 306 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, 3 offensive fumbles. Josh Adams on the ground, 20 carries, 85 yards. Clement with 5 carries, 27 yards, and 47 receiving yards. Sproles came back and had a touchdown. Jason Kelce was excellent out in space in the screen and run game, making a number of key blocks to help spring the ball carriers loose. Most notably, he paved the path for Darren Sproles' touchdown run at the end of the first half, taking out 2 defenders in the process. Looked really good on that run. Golden Tate finished the game with 7 receptions, 85 yards, and a touchdown. That's his first touchdown as an Eagle. And Ertz finished 9 receptions, 83 yards. Aguilar with 4 receptions, 56 yards. Zach Ertz has passed Brian Westbrook 90 receptions in 2007 for the most receptions in a single season in franchise history. Defensively speaking for the Eagles, Gata and Graham with forced fumble, Jerry with an interception, Douglas 7 tackles. The Eagles are now 6-1 this season when they rush for 100-plus yards and are 0-5 when they rush for fewer than 100 yards. So running is the key to their game, as is for some other teams. So if you know it works, use it. The Eagles have scored 25-plus points in back-to-back games for the first time this season. It looks like the Eagles are trying to heat up a little bit. Mark Sanchez in for the injured guy, 13 of 21, 100 yards, no touchdowns, 1 interception. McCoy even came in. He was 4 of 4, 50 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Adrian Peterson, if it wasn't for him, I don't even want to know how ugly this game would have been. He always just runs regardless of what his quarterbacks are doing in this struggling position. Adrian Peterson, 9 carries, 98 yards, and a touchdown. Doxson with 3 receptions, 51 yards. There was 2 offensive fumbles. Adrian Peterson scored on a 90-yard run in the second quarter, making him the oldest player in NFL history to score a 90-plus yard rushing touchdown. It is also the longest run in Redskins history. AP has tied Hall of Famer Jim Brown, 106, for the 5th most rushing touchdowns in NFL history. Defensively speaking, Brown and Miro led with 9 tackles each and a forced fumble each. Josh Norman with a red zone interception returned 40 yards. There was no sacks on Wentz. They did pressure in the first half, but not so much in the second half, and that allowed him some time to get things going and seal the deal. So that's it for all the games in Week 13 in the NFL. So let's get into best individual performances by position and best rookie performances and best offense, defense, etc. So starting from the top, quarterbacks this week, Patrick Mahomes, Phillip Rivers, Derek Carr. Even with the loss, he did pretty good considering how bad he's been. Jameis Winston, Russell Wilson, Deshaun Watson, Tom Brady, and Josh Allen. Even with the loss, 135 rushing yards is impressive. I'm sorry, guys. Wide receiver position, Travis Kelce, Keenan Allen, Dante Pettis, Jared Cook, Jarvis Landry, Twan Taylor, Chris Godwin. Running back, Phillip Lindsay, Tariq Cohen, Saquon Barkley, Christian McCaffrey, Todd Gurley, Jeffrey Wilson, Lamar Miller, James White, and Adrian Peterson. Defensive backs, Xavier Howard, Justin Simmons, Antoine Bethea, Justin Reed, Matthew, Joseph, and Colvin, Ramsey and DJ Hayden, Janoris Jenkins, Andrew Adams, and Javian Elliott, Jamal Adams and Trumaine Johnson, Malcolm Butler, McCourty and Gilmore, Derwin James, and Desmond King. D-line position, Aaron Donald, 16.5 sacks this season. Danico Autry, DeMarcus Lawrence, Damon Harrison, Chandler Jones, Shelby Harris, Akeem Hicks, Chris Jones, and Joey Bosa. At linebacker position, Bobby Wagner, Ogletree and Vernon, Vander Esch and Jalen Smith, Zach Cunningham, Von Miller and Chubb, Telvin Smith and Miles Jack, Dee Ford in Houston, Eric Kendricks, Dante Fowler, and Jayon Brown. Special teams, Desmond King, 73-yard punt return for a touchdown, and 84-yard kickoff return by Lockett, and Michael Badgley had a game-winning 29-yard field goal. And also, even with the Jets' loss, the Jets got production from across the board on all their special teams. Kevin Pierre-Louis blocked a punt in the second quarter to set up a field goal, and Henry Anderson blocked Sukup's extra point inside the final minute of the first half. Andre Roberts opened the third quarter with a 60-yard kickoff return. So even with the loss, their special teams at least did their part. Best offenses this week, honestly, there was a lot of low yardage and sloppy, like I said, fumbles, interceptions. So for me, the cleanest, most impressive offenses were only Chiefs and Chargers. Best defenses, there were quite a few and some that were surprising. Dallas, Ravens, Jaguars, Colts, Cardinals, Giants, Chiefs, and Patriots. Best rookie performances, Vander Esch, Gus Edwards, Cortland Sutton, Phillip Lindsay, Saquon Barkley, Chubb, Justin Reed, Darius Leonard, Josh Allen, Roquan Smith, Sony Michel, Dante Pettis, and Derwin James. And now, for the most athletic plays of Week 13 in the NFL.
Breeze almost, and he is picked by Jordan Lewis. Kamara was the target, and Jordan Lewis picks a fine time for his first interception as he got it off the top of the turf.
And again, it's due to the pressure that is in his face. Malik Collins, number 96, is the one who comes around and gets in the face. We've seen that over and over, the inside pressure on Breeze. He's not handled that well at all. I'm not sure what he was trying to do really with this throw. You don't get much to show for it.
Here's a pass over the middle. Ball is out. Cooper made the catch in the fight for the ball. Saints say they have it. Cooper was close to it, and the Saints have it. A takeaway. And exactly what New Orleans needed. And let's see who punched it out. The knee of Marshawn Lattimore.
They bring the blitz.
Defense. The penalty is declined. Results of the play is a catch. First down.
Bring P.J. Williams off the edge, and he's close. And Eli Apple.
Field goal attempts or PATs, whatever it might be. Ball's coming out. Picked up by Atlanta. That's Beasley down the sideline. What a move back to the middle of the field. Jackson is shielded. Beasley takes it all the way for the touchdown.
Oh, no, the ball's down. Ball is out. Picked up. It's going to be returned for a touchdown. That's Young scooping it up. We have our second defensive touchdown of the game.
And really what happens, the ball.
Don't think the arm was going forward.
How he sees this. Take a look at number 66. He's going to field Jared Veldheer, his right tackle. Just as Veldheer seals it off, he's able to see that after getting stuffed in the backfield by his own player and make that cutback.
Leads the league in yards.
There you go.
Per catch, 19.7. Here's Lindsey, a wide open piece of real estate. Lindsey, showing the wheels, and he will score. Safety. Look at Bolden, number 77. He's 10 yards down the field. You have no inside pursuit from the interior of the Bengals defense, and man, that guy is fast. He ran a 4.42 at his pro day out of Colorado, and once again gives the Broncos the spark.
The Saints off the Ohio River. What has been an unseasonably mild day today here in Queen City. Here is Lindsey against the suddenly surging Broncos side. It's 1-2 in a row. Here's Lindsey again. In his 4 career starts, the NFL average is 4 yards. He's at nearly 6. Sanders in motion. Keenum on 2nd and 7. Personnel runner to the end zone. It's caught. What a catch by Sutton for the Denver touchdown.
Receivers involved, and I love how Sutton uses his body. You're in press coverage outside, and you've got to make him adjust his route. Darius Phillips is in press coverage, but
Sidearm jump ball in the end zone, and that's intercepted.
Vertical, Troy Hill. Get up and get that. Nice.
Play action, and Goff steps away from trouble. Dangerous throw, but the catch is made up to the 40-yard line by Robert Woods, a former USC pro. Rosen's throw for Larry Fitzgerald, falling to the turf with the ball.
That is a catch. His arm is...
Rosen throwing to Edmonds. He's not down yet. And Chase Edmonds with a good move for a first down up to the 38-yard line. Chase Edmonds is in. He's in the end zone for a Cardinal touchdown.
Very similar to the play that got down close to the goal line 2 plays ago. And just doing a nice job with their blocking there. It's just a simple kind of belly play where you roll to the left and you got a little bit of cut back to your right.
And I can't say Fordham without thinking of Vince Lombardi. And good pickup at the backer. 32-33 as Chase Edmonds breaks free. Edmonds shoved inside the 3-yard line.
And Chase Edmonds on the field together.
They hurry to the line here. Chase Edmonds trying to turn the corner. And to the end zone, Edmonds has a Cardinal touchdown. He's got 2 today.
He's going to sell this to the inside and then watch the decision. Once he sees the pylon, now it's a sprint to the pylon. And I tell you, he's not.
Underneath, it's Edmonds.
Mayfield intercepted. Picked off by Zach Cunningham. Cunningham up the sideline. 10, 5. Reaching for the end zone. Did he get there? He's going to be marked out at the 1.
Right here, Cunningham, he's going to drop right back into coverage, but watch Clowney coming from the right side of the screen, gets the inside technique. That's where the hold takes place. But because of that, Mayfield has to throw the ball sooner than he wants to. He's trying to place it into the window to Callaway, but Cunningham with an incredible interception.
Yeah, he's been a big addition. Getting him healthy, he's so athletic for a big linebacker. You know, he almost intercepted that first slant in the game. And
from his end zone. Oh, Jarvis Landry, did he pull that in? That's unbelievable.
And DeAndre Hopkins and Jarvis Landry, great hand. What a catch.
I almost think Reed knocks the ball back into Landry's stomach. Watch this as it's bobbling away, and Reed comes in to get the hit.
Mayfield has room to run, throws for the end zone, and it is intercepted at the back of the end zone by Andre Howe.
For extending the play, and he's made so many dynamic plays as we see 1, 2, 2. He actually gets 3 feet in. Let's see, 1, 2, and then
Mayfield throwing over the middle. It is caught. What a catch by Callaway. Callaway gets a block. 10, 5, lost the football. This is Aaron Colvin after the Justin Reed hit.
Contact.
Mayfield, and it is intercepted at the 30-yard line. This is Jonathan Joseph.
But the Texans are dialed in on him right now.
Luck looking to throw middle of the field, and it was nearly intercepted. Was it though? T.Y. Hilton and Jalen Ramsey both with a football who was popped out.
Well, they're going to say the reception was made by T.Y., I believe.
Issue. Let's see if their D was a catch. That's Telvin Smith.
Oh, he tipped it.
That tipped it.
What concentration by T.Y. Hilton.
That's shared possession.
With Jalen Ramsey.
And that's going to go to T.Y. Hilton. All the motion. You know, again, I think that's a sign of respect that Frank Reich has for this Jaguars defense. If you're giving the ball to a tight end to run outside on 4th down and a foot, I really...
They're down at 8. Luck under pressure. Throws on the run, and it's intercepted. DJ Hayden picks it off, and he's knocked out of bounds by Glowinski.
It's a great field position. We'll see if the defense
wants to take a deep shot on first down for Stills, and it's picked up by Hyde. Back-to-back interceptions. Micah Hyde with his second INT of the year, and the Bills get the ball right back.
If you're playing the ball and you got your eyes on the quarterback here, you got deep help, you can undercut the receiver because it's a too deep, it's a great disguise, and the disguise of the coverage.
Allen over the middle, intercepted, picked up by Howard, his second of the game and his 7th of the season. He's looking deep, pressure coming, he steps up, buying some time. Now fires for the end zone. Number of white jerseys down there, and it's picked off. Xavier Howard, another interception for Howard. And he's tackled inside the 15-yard line.
They're going to let Odell Beckham Jr. look to throw it. He's done it once. He's got a man wide open. It's caught for the touchdown. The second touchdown pass of the year from Beckham. He hits Russell Shepard, and the Giants have the lead.
Alive, and then patiently waits for his receiver to come wide open on a coverage ball.
Handoff, it's Barkley. Saquon Barkley making Meeple miss. Look at this effort by Barkley, who's still going out the midfield. He is something else.
Positive yards on offense. We're just not good enough on that side right now. Back to you.
Damn thanks. Here is Barkley. Four-man rush. Manning still gets pressure. Now there's Barkley again. A first down, leaping over people. Saquon Barkley.
And finds Barkley coming underneath in his line of sight with a big leap.
Barkley in the game. Saquon Barkley. It's a toss. Saquon Barkley with a first down and a lot more. Barkley still going. Saquon Barkley. What a run.
Every time you think that progress has been stopped, think again. Nice block there by Wheeler, nice block by Penny. And then Beckham downfield doing an excellent job blocking Fuller, and then coming off of Fuller and blocking Eddie Jackson.
All day. Daniel going deep. He's got Cohen open. He underthrow, but Cohen came back to make the grab. And they're going to say he was indeed down. Great adjustment by Tariq Cohen.
Now, did he actually get touched on the ground? Now he's got a chance to get up. He's not touched there. And they were blowing the whistle.
Blitz coming. Daniel, as he throws, it's a wobbler, but it gets to Cohen down the sidelines. Now it's Daniel. Standing in over the middle, it's Cohen. Flag fly from the secondary. First down for Tariq Cohen inside the 40. Let's see what the penalty is. 4th down, this is the game. Daniel, pressure coming. Daniel's going to loft it for Cohen. He's got it! Inside the 10 with 11 seconds to go.
Chase Daniel right over the top of Collins 21. Cohen catches it.
8 seconds to go.
There's Cohen.
Burton to Cohen, looking to throw it. And he's got the touchdown! Burton again. Another Chicago special.
Except he's not throwing it. He became the initiator off of the handoff, the toss to Cohen.
And look at that. Intercepted. It's Ogletree again, number 2 on the day. Alec Ogletree finally stopped out near the 35.
So watch Ogletree right there. He just moves, sees the pattern, and also just sees the football. He was what they call pattern reading, saw where the guys were breaking, and due to his film study, able to anticipate the route and the
him well. And congratulations on that game.
Intercepted right off the bat by Ogletree. Touchdown. What a start. Alec Ogletree.
2 weeks ago, Ogletree got a pick against Tampa Bay that bounced off of Janoris Jenkins. This time he needed no help. Moving forward like he was blitzing, the ball goes right into his chest.
As Newton throws, and it is picked off by Andrew Adams. 13 yards for DJ Moore in that previous play from the 44-yard line of Tampa Bay. Newton picked off for the third time. Pass intended for Jarius Wright. It's Andrew Adams with his second interception today. So another huge play by the Tampa Bay Bucs defense. Second down and 5 from the Bucs 32. Newton sets. He was hit as he got rid of it. And it is picked off. That's the fourth interception by the Bucs today. It's the third for Andrew Adams. Off the fake to McCaffrey. This pass is picked off. It's the second interception for the Tampa Bay Bucs today. And it's taken by Javian Elliott all the way into Carolina territory.
This team is right here, and these are the ones you dream about. Quarterback thinking he has a slant outside, just running through a window and catching the ball that's thrown to you. Big play by this Bucs defense. They've been doing it all day today, and we continue to talk about the improvement of this unit. It's these young corners having to step up and play.
Also, look at the athletic ability of Kelsey. Sharp move there, back, spinning out of it, makes the catch, and then powers across the line.
Flags down. Mahomes steps, guns it. It's caught by Kelsey. Nickel for Oakland. Mahomes steps up. Mahomes still looking. Mahomes slings it to the sideline. Tremendous hands by Kelsey. First down, Kansas City.
16 yards, first down. You've got to stay alive.
5 yards on the pickup. Mahomes sets and throws. Big play. Travis Kelsey.
Kelsey may be injured after making a spectacular catch. It's a shot in the ribs.
In on his third straight 1,000-yard season. Chiefs trying to get in the field goal range, but with Mahomes, you could think touchdown range. Low throw. Kelsey handles it. And he did not get out of bounds. Kelsey in the slot. Mahomes tosses. Kelsey the catch. Touchdown, Kansas City. Patrick Mahomes. Perfectly placed.
Type of catches he made today where he's had to go down low with those big mitts and grab the ball.
Fake it. Mahomes flips it to Kelsey. In terms of receiving yards in the game. Mahomes, flag down. Out of the pocket. Mahomes launches. Caught by Kelsey. Gets up and runs with it for a touchdown.
Appears to me that this runner is down. Kelsey's going to be down at the 13-yard line, as we can see from this shot. The left hand of the defender on the right knee of the receiver with that left knee down. They'll bring this back.
2nd and 3. Toss it to Kelsey, and a flag is thrown as he got to the outside.
I think you're going to get Conley.
Mahomes from the gun. Steps. Mahomes gets out of trouble. Uncorks. Oh, he's got Kelsey inside the 5.
The pocket is going to collapse on him, but he finds a little bit of an escape route right there. Gets close to the line of scrimmage, finds his big tight end.
3rd down and 4 for Marcus Mariota. That's picked off. Intercepted on the play by Tremaine Johnson. He's got Adams ahead inside the pylon. That's
That's a Jets touchdown. And their first takeaway in 6 games. Mariota has thrown a pick 6.
Well, the first indicator is when you see number 33, Jamal Adams, down around the line of scrimmage, because he's going to be coming. And when he's coming, you know some type of zone pressure is on the back end. Tremaine Johnson read the eyes of...
Here's one down the field for Robinson. Batted and picked off by Deron Harmon. J.C. Jackson was back there for the Patriots as well. But Harmon gets it and has his second interception of the year.
Well, it was an out and up. It looked, Aldrick Robinson had him. He's beyond him, but Cousins just unable to get the ball out far enough. Robinson is a guy who can really motor. But if he lays that out and lets Robinson go get it, it's a touchdown. But J.C. Jackson.
Harrison Smith coming on the blitz. Got there late. Pass is picked. Intercepted by Kendricks. And exactly what Minnesota needed to try to get back in it. The pick. And the Vikings have it down 14.
I think either one of them did enough to do anything.
Here's an interception by Jones. And Jonathan Jones walks on his knees after another takeaway for this Patriots defense. And that's 2 interceptions thrown by Kirk Cousins in this one.
Yeah, this one here, this situation in a game, you're just trying to get a big chunk. And that was Thielen who trying to set it down, but he doesn't work back to the football either.
Shut out so far. Brady throws, has Patterson, a bobble and a catch. And a salute from Cordero Patterson.
Much of what they've done with Cordero Patterson. Let's take a closer look at it, make sure he caught it, and he sure does.
And here is Sproles. Look at Kelsey working downfield, and Sproles spins his way into the end zone. Well earned by Jason Kelsey, the center, and welcome back, Darren Sproles. 14-yard score.
You know, Tess, Darren Sproles is going to get a lot of the credit, and deservedly so, because when he comes back, he brings juice. But watch the center, number 62, Kelsey. First he pulls, and then he gets up on the linebacker, Mason Foster, and he rides him for about 12 yards, and then Sproles does the rest.
And then finds more work. This is textbook and effort.
But it's how he does it. I mean,
he's back. Adrian Peterson is going to help him. Look at the 33-year-old Adrian Peterson. A 90-yard touchdown. And with that comes history for AD all day. 106 career rushing touchdowns now.
Well, I talked about he's going to be a one-cut system. It's inside zone. He makes that one cut. His lineman gets the blocks on the second level, and he's gone. He still has that speed. You know, he has that ability. He's one of those guys. He's wired differently. Big, long strider.
Here's Wentz. To the end zone, and it is caught for the touchdown by Golden Tate. His first touchdown as an Eagle.
You know, Tess, that's the thing that makes Carson Wentz who he is. He's calm in the pocket, but he's got the ability to extend the play and just enough of athletic ability to find Golden Tate in the back of the end zone. We thought Deshaun Watson was Houdini. Carson Wentz has got a little bit in him, too.
Darnold skies one to the 29-yard line. You got Desmond King. Desmond King is into Pittsburgh territory. Desmond King inside the 20, the 10, all the way for the touchdown. So a guy who came off the field when he was slightly injured on the last series.
Pass is intercepted by Bobby Wagner. Only the quarterback to defend. Bobby Wagner with a touchdown. And a 98-yard return after the interception.